Now, here's what's interesting too. We've done this before too, where we'll close the A to B contract at one title company, and then we close the B to C contract at a different title company so that it is not necessarily a double close. Have you ever seen something like that, Harry?
Yeah, that makes it a little bit more difficult with transactional lenders who sometimes require that the closing happen all at the same law firm because they're scared that if they lend the money for the B to C, the A to B never happens and they lose their money, or vice versa, they lend it for the A to B and then the B to C never ends up buying the property. So yeah, it happens. There's a little bit more paperwork. Sometimes they even want a formal mortgage or deed of trust put in place when they do the A to B to make sure that they'll get paid on the B to C. But typically it's 2 or 3 times more expensive, basically. If you're paying 2 points for transactional funding with one law firm, back-to-back closings, the transactional lenders, if there's 2 law firms, want to charge 4 or 6 points, just as a reflection of their risk.
Yeah. Jason Romaine says, don't fund A to B until B to C has sent funds to title. Yeah, that is correct. They should have sent funds to title ready to close before your transactional lender comes in. There was a moment in Arizona for about 3 years where our title companies here would allow the B to C money to fund the A to B transaction so that the wholesaler was never out of money, but they passed legislation that that's not possible here anymore. And I'm seeing that in other states. I have not seen somebody do that in a couple of years. Are you guys allowed to do that in North Carolina or South Carolina, use B to C funds to close A to B's transaction?
When I started 9 years ago, that was reasonably commonplace. We just had the C lender sign a document stating that they know that their funds could be used to do A to B prior closing. But in the last few years, the North Carolina bar, and I think South Carolina too, has made it very clear that it's unethical to do that. You can't use money destined for fee, to do an A to B transaction. So no, we can't do that around here either. And one of the questions there was, what is a blind closing, a blind HUD? And that was kind of the same thing. Years ago, we used to do the seller side, just the seller documents. And then we do only the buyer side. So the buyer might not see that the seller is paying an assignment fee or vice versa, buyer paying it, whatever it may be. Probably somewhere along the lines with the seller thinking as long as they get the money that they agreed to, they don't care. They're going to sign anything. So if that fee is on the buyer side, the seller won't see it. And that is something that could allow you to do an assignment without the seller knowing how much money is being made on the property. And that's what the North Carolina bar is saying we can't do any longer. We can't do a blind HUD. There has to be a HUD with the buyer and the seller both on it. So yes, we have to give full disclosure, but honestly, a lot of the times the buyer or the seller doesn't even look at the other side. And most of the time, the seller is happy as long as they're getting their number, despite it being very clear that the buyer is paying an assignment fee, 2 inches away from the number that they get.
Yeah, Arizona is the same way, and other states that we buy in is the same way. The old days of also letting the end buyer bring the earnest money to cover the wholesaler's contract, that has now gone away in Arizona too. The last couple of years, it's gone away all over the country where I've been seeing. I remember a point about 3 years ago where a wholesaler would come to me and he'd have open escrow, and earnest money was due the day they signed the contract. It's 5 days after they had opened escrow, and the title company would allow me to come in and overcome or pay for that earnest money to cover that guy's contract. That's not ethical anymore. And what Arizona's cracking down on it, I think a lot of it's coming from the National Association of Realtors. They're coming in and going, you guys can't be running around like this, the wild, wild west. And Harry at the very beginning talked about the lobbyist groups. Guys, National Association of Realtors has billions of dollars. They spend a lot of money lobbying against wholesalers and people doing things that kind of running around like gunslingers and going, oh, great, I can just go get people under contract, file memorandums on their property and not put in earnest money. Those days are last couple of years, major changes have been coming up. Now, a couple more questions. I just heard about this the other day. I buy deals in North Carolina all the time, but I'm sitting here going, there's a due diligence fee in North Carolina. Somebody just pointed out to me a couple months ago, and I had no idea what that was. What is a due diligence fee and how does that differ from other fees?
In North Carolina, we have something called due diligence and something called earnest money. Due diligence is usually the money you pay directly to the seller when you get the contract signed. You can basically think of it as a deposit. That money goes directly to the seller for locking up the house for a couple of days. The earnest money is the fee that is held at the escrow attorney or the title company or the closing attorney. That's what the seller will get if you pass your inspection period. So the money, due diligence, goes immediately to the seller. EMD is paid to the title company, and we give it to the seller if, let's say, there's a 2-week inspection period. At any time before that 2 weeks up, you can say, I want to cancel this deal and get your earnest money back.
For any
if you
reason.
pass that 2 weeks, that earnest money should go to the seller.
Okay, so during my inspection period, I can cancel for any reason. Like, hey, I just don't feel like buying the house. It's ugly, and I can cancel.
Absolutely.
Is the due diligence in North Carolina a requirement to open escrow?
No.
Okay, so that's just something that can be done. It's not a legal requirement.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Does that answer the question, guys? Is due diligence money non-refundable?
It's usually non-refundable, except if the title company finds like a title problem or something. Then you would definitely say that you are a ready, willing, able buyer, but you couldn't close because of the seller's problems. And in that situation, the seller should give you back the due diligence.
But at that point, it's almost like, good luck. You just gave the seller actual cash.
Sometimes, but ideally there's realtors involved and they're, talking to the seller and saying that they're going to get sued, and that'd be bad for them to try to keep the money.
Yeah, Jason Romaine says it's the same with an option fee in Texas. I've never, ever once paid an option fee or a due diligence fee in Texas, and we own, as of right now, we own 700 doors in Texas. I've never once paid a due diligence fee or an option fee to, price in Texas. So maybe that's a new thing that I haven't seen. It wouldn't be a legal requirement because I've never seen it. It's $100 what I've seen to the seller. It can be $100. Are you guys saying it's a legal requirement? Because no contract I've ever seen in Texas has ever had that.
It can be anything. Usually it's a reflection of how long your closing date is. If you want 2 months to close, they're going to want $5,000 or something, to show that you're serious about the closing, because you basically could have a free look for 2 months. But if you want to put $5,000 down for that 2-month look, that makes it somewhat reasonable. Other situations, if you're saying you're going to close in 2 days, then there might not be any due diligence at all.
Got it. I'm doing earnest money and that's it. Here's my earnest money. I'm going to let my title company protect my agreement, and I'm going to put my earnest money at title. I'm going to give the seller receipt of that and say, here you go. Here's a receipt that I have opened up escrow, and here's my earnest money. And if for some reason there's a title issue or I don't like something, if I just decide I just don't like the house anymore, or I even contracted it too high, I can legally cancel in all 50 states. I, the seller, have the ability to get, or sorry, the buyer, the buyer has the ability to get out during the inspection period. The seller does not, unless I breach. Option fee in Texas is the non-refundable fee paid to the seller to take a property off the MLS. Okay, that might be why this is common. I am a licensed Texas realtor. Okay, so you guys are, I don't really do a lot of on-market stuff. I think on-market stuff is not really the way. As the Mandalorian says, this is not the way. Due diligence is only a potential problem with MLS deals. Never have to deal with it when going direct to seller. Okay, cool. Yeah, there you go. There's the answer. So in Texas, it sounds like if I go with a real estate agent, I go to the real estate agent, I say, hey, I want this off the MLS. And I could see why you would want to deal off the MLS, because you sometimes are raising capital, or you're going to wholesale the deal, or you're going to go to a private money lender and say, hey, I'm buying this deal. And you don't want them to see what it was listed for, because a lot of times private money lenders, let's say I'm going to go fix and flip a property, and I go, here's the house I need to borrow money for. And they go look it up and they go, man, it didn't sell for 300 and it's been on the market for 200 days. And you think you're going to buy it at 300 and then you're going to go put it on the market in 6 months at 500 grand? I don't think so. If it didn't sell for 300 today, it's not going to sell for 500 later. I'm like, Mr. Private Money Lender, I know how real estate works. I know I'm going to go put money into this, add some square footage, whatever it may be, and I can go sell this for $500,000. So we typically want our houses taken off the market as well if we're going to go raise capital, because it becomes an issue. Why is my homeowner dragging his 78-year-old feet on me, paying off the debt on his pre-foreclosure before auction and putting $30,000 in his pocket? Heidi, how can we help?
Thank you for letting me ask a question, Pace, that's totally unrelated. But we were getting into due diligence, and it got me thinking about this deal that is right in front of me, and this guy is just dragging his feet, and you're like the king of closing. So I just thought I'd throw it out there. I didn't really think that you'd pay attention to me.